Let's start. Okay, so good afternoon again. Thanks for joining us. So this webinar is dedicated to the 2026 Télévie call for proposals, and this call will open on January 15. We decided to organize this webinar before this opening to present the changes made to the funding instruments. Here is the program of the webinar. First, I will give an introduction. Then, okay, thank you, Arnaud. Then Arnaud will present the rules and regulation that will apply to for this call, the new call. Then Marc Vidal and Yvon Delenoy, the chair and co-chair of the Scientific Commission Télévie, will provide some conclusion. During the various meetings with scientists, the question arose regarding the Télévie funding instruments. The idea was to try to improve them in order to better meet the expectations of the scientific community, to align complementarily with traditional F.R.S. instruments, and to reduce administrative workloads. So we can go on the next slide, thank you. So to put a researcher's need at the heart of the efforts to improve the funding instruments, we held an important meeting with the president and co-president of the Télévie Scientific Commissions, Marc Vidal and Yvan Delenoy, with Arsène Burdi, and also with representatives from the cancer research community. So two researchers from UC Louvain, two researchers from ULB, two researchers from ULiège, one researcher from UMons, and one researcher from UNAMUR. And the group was formed to ensure gender balance, of course, but also representation of diverse approach to cancer research. So the opinions converge unanimously on the following recommendations that you can see on the screen. To avoid duplication with the F.R.S. traditional funding instruments, to continue the current staff-based funding model, but with greater flexibility, but provide sufficient operating funds to support the activities of funded staff, not to impose often artificial inter-university collaboration, and to set the maximum number of applications per promoter to 3. So this formed the guiding principles of the new instruments approved by the F.R.S. Board of Directors last June. Essentially, it's a unique instrument focusing on staff funding combined with increased operating credit. So in concrete terms, the lump sum model for operating cost is replaced with a need-based model. The instrument is highly flexible. It offers the possibility of requesting up to 3 staff positions and goes far beyond traditional doctoral researchers. And at the same time, it was decided to stop the PDR Télévie instrument, which was set up for the 30th anniversary of Télévie. On the one hand, it duplicates the PDR F.R.S., but is more restrictive by artificially forcing collaboration between universities. And on the other hand, it represents a very large budget to the detriment of a greater diversity of teams with much more modest amounts. Last but not least, reducing tasks which are not essential is always appreciable, and this will be achieved by entrusting the selection of staff units solely to the PI, and by eliminating the drafting of final reports, which few stakeholders had the time to read, and in favor of collecting quantitative indicators as well as the list of publications and theses produced within the framework of the Télévie funding granted. So this was the main message I wanted to give to you. Now I give the floor to Arnaud, who will present in detail the rules and regulations that will apply to the Télévie 2026 call. Arnaud?
Thank you.
Yes.
Good afternoon, everyone. To start with, just some details about the agenda for the 2026 call. The call will open, as it has been said, on the 15th of January. It should be validated by the promoter on the 18th of February, and a renewal of the actual grant should be submitted by February 20. You can see in the mini guide, and we'll talk a bit more about that later. And finally, the validation by the host institutions authorities should be in by 25 of February. That was for the call. Then we'll have another opportunity to present all this during the Télévie seminar that will be held on 28th of January this next year. The scientific commission will take place on the 18th of May, and finally the funding decision will be made by the board in June 2026. Just a few warnings about some changes here in the rules of regulations. These regulations only apply to the new application starting for this call, the 2026. The staff that has been recruited prior to the 2026 call is not concerned, and there will be a dedicated section in the mini guide. We encourage you to go and read this section. Also, as of 2026, the Kiwanis Luxembourg will directly manage the Luxembourg funds, and we'll see a few of the consequences later. So the key points, there will be only one promoter per application. There is no co-promotion anymore. The application must be submitted in English, no French anymore. And there will be a maximum of 3 staff positions per call and per promoter that can be requested. So it means that a promoter may request up to 3 staff positions submitted through 1, 2, or 3 applications, each application being a distinct scientific project. In other words, in practice, there are 3 possible combinations for the new funding instruments. You can submit 1 application requesting 1, 2, or 3 staff positions. You can submit 2 applications, each requesting 1 staff position, or with 1, 2, and the other one position, or 3 applications, each of one requesting 1 staff position. If this is not clear enough, we have here a scheme showing that if you submit 1 proposal, you can request 1, 2, or 3 staff position. If you have 2 proposals, you can have 1, 1, 1, 2, or 2, 1. And then if you have 3 proposals, you can spread your 3 staff positions equally on all of them. The design of the details of the design of the funding instrument. The funding duration, the standard funding duration is 2 years. And the funding includes 2 categories of eligible costs. The staff cost, as we said, up to 3 positions, and the operating cost up to 60,000 euro per staff. The identity of the staff is not requested at the time of application. The host institution will be the employer of the staff. And for all staff, it is the host institution that determines the status, meaning mobility situations, grant versus salary, etc., and the cost of each staff that is expected to be submitted here. This is a table that you could find in the rules and regulation by F.R.S. It shows all the different categories of personnel that you can request within the Télévie. It's pretty classical, almost the same as what you can request during the classical call at F.R.S. We have doctoral researchers, postdoctoral researchers, technical and support staff, and clinical researchers. We'll go into more details about each of them right now. For doctoral researchers, the doctoral researcher's position shall not be replaced in case of resignation. it was already the case in the previous Télévie calls. The promoter may submit a renewal application for a second period of 2 years, and this renewal is pretty much administrative, and it's based on the approval by the committee in charge of the thesis monitoring. So this is the main line of things you have to know about doctoral researchers, otherwise it remains the same. For the postdoctoral researchers, one given individual may be recruited, but only for a total period of 4 years, which means 2 periods of 2 years. In this case, the renewal is not purely administrative, it will be subject to scientific evaluation. Technical and support staff. This is a new staff category. It's a broad category encompassing all technical and non-doctoral scientific profiles. It means that no doctoral work can be performed within the framework of this position, and the institutions have to ensure adequate salary compensation for these staff positions. Now we have the clinical researchers. They can be at the PhD level or postdocs already. Since they are part-time positions, they are allowed to have 2 + 2 + 2 years, so 3 times 2 years, meaning a total of up to 6 years. In this case, the hospital, university hospital, is the employer of this staff, and the F.R.S. reimburses half of the full-time annual cost, with a limit in the case of the PhD 57, in the case of the postdoc 75 kilo euros per year. Here, a little warning, as the F.R.S. is not aware of the exact nature of the clinical ecosystem in Luxembourg. If you are a PI from Luxembourg, please refer to the Kiwanis to make sure that this is doable and know the conditions that may apply to such a proposal. Now, the terms of use. The funding is available for the duration of the agreement, and this period is increased by a period of 12 months during which you could still send some expenses to the F.R.S. This is pretty much a classical scheme for those of you who already know the F.R.S. There will be no change of staff position during the project. If you ask for a postdoc, you will have to stick with a postdoc. You cannot switch to a technical or a PhD student position. And it is mandatory for those of you who will be granted to provide some essential information on the recruited staff via eSpace to the F.R.S. You can look in the rules and regulation, and this will help the F.R.S. to ensure a proper monitoring of the projects and the individual recruited on these projects. The budgetary transfers are not authorized here in the context of the F.R.S. Télévie, and this is unlike what occurs in the F.R.S. where such transfers are authorized. Instead of final reports, the F.R.S. will collect ex post quantitative indicators and the list of publications linked to the awarded funding. As for the Scientific Commission, we have 21 members. We have 6 members from the Wallonia-Brussels Federation and 15 members outside this Wallonia-Brussels Federation. All members have been appointed through a comma and the board procedure. We have 2 presidents and 1 observer directly appointed by the board. Professor Marc Vidal from Dana-Farber Cancer Institute in the United States. We have Professor Yvan Delanois from the CNRS France and Professor Arsène Burny. We have received 4 questions and we would like to address them here. In the context of a grant, which means a formally PhD thesis funded by the Télévie, is the selection of the doctoral candidate specific to specific eligibility criteria? The answer is yes, but the only eligibility criteria that is required is that the candidate must be enrolled in a doctoral program within the host institution. There is a very clear article in the rules and regulation, Article 29, available online. The next question is a renewal request for a Télévie grant for doctoral students counted among the maximum 3 applications per promoter? No. As we state in the Article 60, the renewals are never taken into account with regards to the limit of the 3 positions per call. Next question. are the doctoral grants renewals due in 2026 affected by this new model? In other words, we understand that they would like to know if these former grants could benefit from the 60,000 euros for 2 years. And the answer is no, because the PhD students granted before 2026 will follow the previous rules. And again, there will be a dedicated sections in the mini guide regarding this specific case. Then last but not least, a researcher could request up to three postdoc salaries, which is true for 2 years, exact, and provide an example if the cost is estimated around 120,000 euros times 2, times 3, because you request 3 staff positions and you add the operating cost. It means that in the total, indeed, you can reach some extremely high levels of funding as high as 900,000 euros. Is it reasonable? That's something that was asked. So in theory, yes, it is possible, but such level of ambition obviously should be supported with a very strong proposal or several proposals, as we indicated before with the different models. And we would like you to keep in mind that the scientific commissions does evaluate the budget adequacy with regard to the proposal and could operate some cuts if required. So this was an extreme scenario proposed by one of you, I guess. It is, in theory, possible, yes. So the next step that might be useful for you, the recording of this webinar will be available online. All the supporting documents will be as well available online. You can still ask some questions after these presentations at the address provided here. The call again will open on January 15, 2026. And the F.R.S. will again answer all your questions during the Télévie seminar on the January 28th. The call again closes on February 18. Now I will let the floor to our presidents for conclusion and tips.
Thank you very much, Arnaud. Marc, let's start.
Do you want to start?
No.
Okay, I'll start. Well, thank you, Veronique. Thank you, Arnaud. I hope things are clear for everyone. The slides were definitely clear. I think if people have more questions, they can send them later. Am I right, Arnaud? Yeah,
Yep.
and Veronique. So
Yes.
please don't hesitate. We're here to help. We want to make sure that everybody understands the new system. So just to come back to a conceptual framework, to summarize what Veronique and Arnaud just said. Of course, we realize that both Yvon and I realize that more than 30, what is it now, 33, 34 years of Télévie have been extremely successful and have helped the community in French-speaking Belgium tremendously. And we want to continue that. The basic idea of using these funds to allow researchers to do projects that they might not do otherwise is of course still there. As you might have noticed, Arsène Burny remains an observer on the commission, and to us that's very important because it creates a link between Jacques Boniver and Arsène, and now Yvon Delaunoy and myself. We realize we're standing on or sitting on the shoulders of giants, like we say in English. And we want to take the opportunity of everything that was built so far and basically use that for the betterment of cancer research. But having said that, yes, there were a few things that could be changed. It's always the same, right? So a new leadership, and so we look at things. And most importantly, as Veronique said, we asked the community for feedback. We talked to Arsène Burny quite a bit as well. He was there when we had that meeting. We came up with this new system with a few differences, but again, with the main ideas remaining the same. And we hope that that's going to help all of you. That's the whole point of this, is to simplify, like Veronique said a few times, to make sure we have instruments that are slightly different from what you can find at F.R.S. And to allow you to dream and to do your cancer research the best way possible. So don't hesitate. Actually, when we said questions, don't hesitate to send us suggestions as well, maybe for future time. Now, this call is closed. We're going to do it this way this year, but we're here to keep improving. And I think Yvonne wants to say something about that. So
just to add something about what you said, about what Arnaud said concerning the new the adaptation of the rules that we made. For example, giving the opportunity to have 60K euro for only for doing the research. We, Mark and myself, we think that now we know how much a big paper costs, and it's very important now also to support. We understand it's not sufficient for the full experiments necessary for a history of a paper. However, we think it's a very good start, and also the money could come from other funds, but having this kind of opportunity, 60K, that what we can see in other countries also for an added value of the different of how we obtain obtain the best research in the French community from Belgium. We also try to have now rules that are as close as possible from what the F.R.S. is offering in the other call of proposals. That's exactly how we function for now 1 year, because the last year we started with the previous rules and then we adapted a little bit. The Commission is quite new too, and I think with Mark we interact, but we are also very happy to receive from you a lot of advices and maybe recommendation for the future. We'll be very happy about that.
Yeah, thanks, Yvonne. Just one, so you made me think of something else, which is on this slide over here. Part of again, to be conceptual, when we took leadership last year, one of the things we've been thinking about so far, not have done so much, but is both upstream, downstream, and the Commission. So we just talked about the functioning of the Commission, what we're trying to do. Upstream, there's always things that can be improved to collect money, and both Yvonne and I are starting to think with Veronique and the rest of F.R.S. of ways to do that. The slide here shows you something downstream. One thing we have noticed is when we tried to analyze the data, is it's actually very hard, and of course it's a feedback loop. You need to be able to show to the community how much Télévie actually really participates in cancer research, like quantify it. And it's kind of hard to do that. And so we'll try to essentially ask people to quote Télévie in better ways, or in more ways perhaps, so that we can find relatively easily by using of course data sets, etc., that are available on the internet, Google Scholar or whatever, Web of Science, that we're able to identify much more what the productivity of the instrument has been. So we'll give you
in order to emphasize that we know it's not possible on the address to put Télévie, but if we put the Télévie word in the in PubMed, for example, Mark did it, and I don't remember exactly how many papers did you get, but it's something like 20 or something like that, which is
it's very hard to find right now. We might find ways, but at least just a quick search, so you can do it yourself. Everybody on the call, go and have a look at, try to quantify what Télévie has done. Of course, Télévie has done great things, but how to really quantify it in terms of productivity, etc., is kind of hard right now. So we'll ask the whole community to make sure that in the future it's easier to find papers where the Télévie instrument was participated in the funding. Is that a good way to put it, Veronique? Do you want to add something to that?
Perfect way, yes.
Okay. So I think we've said it all, right?
We also try to, as I think Veronique said, or maybe Arnaud, in terms of for the Commission, in terms of gender ratio, in terms of for us also to look at the people that can cover most of the different disciplines, and also interdisciplinary disciplines that currently are very important. We know that we all of us now try to interact with people from what we call bioinformaticians and so on, but also in physics, chemistry, and so on. And that's also important to have people in the room that are able to review correctly those kind of those kind of projects.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we have reached the end of this webinar. Again, it will be all available online as the recording, as well as the slides and the rules and regulations.
Yeah.
And the call will open on January 15. Mr. Vidal, you have something to add?
Yeah, maybe to remind people of the seminar in Liège, no?
Yes, that's right. We'll have a seminar by the end of January.
Yeah, 28.
28 January, it's there. So we'll have the annual Télévie seminar, and I think that president and co-president of the commission will attend the seminar.
No,
so
not me.
We'll be all there.
No, I said I will be in Lyon, unfortunately.
Yes.
But anyway, I'll try to be.
Yes.
We will see.
And
Yeah.
it's always a very nice event because it's the opportunity for researchers to meet each other and to present results, to present posters, and to ask questions on the call that will close, as Arnaud said, on February 18th.
Yeah, I'll be there for sure, and I would love to see you all there and more people who have not attended this call. So yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, so thanks again for attending this webinar. Thanks to the president, co-president, and I wish you Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and I'm happy to see you next year. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Arnaud, Veronique. Fantastic.
Bye bye.